Test, test. Check, check, check. Okay, just checking out, see if the audio is good. So I've got not quite ready to start yet, but I got a couple people live streaming. Let me know if the stream seems to be going and if the audio is okay here. If you're online, so let me see what we got here. Okay, thank you. Let's see. Morning. Okay, well, it's a little bit early, but I've got quite a few people on the live stream here. Not too many people up in the class yet, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'll probably announce this at the beginning and the end of the class, too. I did post an announcement about the class project, so I wanted to get people started on that kind of officially here. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about that. So I did make a due date, a thing that you need to do by the end of this week here. So if you haven't looked at the read over the description for the project for the end of the class, make sure you do that. But you do also need to accept the invitation. So there's a GitHub Classroom invitation, like for our regular assignments. So you need to go ahead and accept that by the end of the week. But more than that, I want everybody to try and pick out the data set that you want to use. So you'll need to put a little bit of thought in that, but also you should update the README. So there'll be a README when you accept this assignment. Maybe we'll just go ahead and accept it here. So if you haven't accepted this yet, go ahead and do that. But then also, check that out and modify the README. You need to do a little bit of thinking, find a data set to use, and if you're using one of the publicly available data sets, if you'd like to use one of the publicly available data sets, that should be fine. Go ahead and pick it. Give me the URL, the location where I can go to get that data set that you're planning on using. Plus also give me about a paragraph of description. So, look at the data set you're thinking of, get an idea of what the features are, what data has in there, what the labels are that you would be using. So I am asking people to do a supervised learning task for the data sets for the class project. So that would mean that you need a data set that you can either have some sort of a label that's a classification problem, so some sort of a categorical label, it could be binary classification or multi-class, or some kind of a regression problem, so a label where you're trying to predict a real value kind of thing. But so I am asking people to concentrate on doing some sort of supervised learning, but also so for this week you do need to think about that. Check, select some data set and write that up and at least make your claim for your data set and get that pushed by Friday so I can see it in your repository. I'm probably only going to allow one person to use like any of these publicly available data sets this semester, per semester. So, if you did have something in mind, you might want to try and do that early. So it'll be kind of first come, first serve. So if I have more than one person ask for a data set, I'll have to give it to the first person that makes a commit, kind of claiming that they're going to use that. So I'll try and check those a couple of times this week to see if anybody is asking for kind of the same data set, so I can repoint anybody that might be second for a data set somewhere else. Another thing about that, I might also reject your data set if it's something that's commonly used or a trivial data set. So for one, any of these things that kind of show up as the popular data sets on the UC Irvine is something that you shouldn't use for the class project. I won't allow you to use the iris or the wine quality or the heart disease. These are small. They're used a lot for examples and stuff. You'll see examples in our textbook from the iris, the wine quality. I think you shouldn't. But yeah, you definitely shouldn't use any of these. The breast cancer, the adult fitness one. So, for two reasons, there's lots of examples for these, but they're kind of relatively small. There's only, this one has 40,000, almost 50,000 instances, but most of these are a couple hundred. Or the other data sets, I'll probably be looking at your data set. So if it doesn't have, if it's less than 1,000 instances. I might also reject it. That's just kind of a rough cutoff. I want you to do something a little bit more than kind of a basic trivial thing. Something that has at least a couple thousand instances of data to do some exploration and some cleaning on, that type of thing. So that was one thing. There's some, actually the Kaggle data set, somebody asked me if you can use the Kaggle. Those are fine. There's one thing on this. I mean, I may or may not be able to detect, but a lot of these publicly available data sets, you'll also be able to find other people, some public examples of people exploring and using the data set. So, the work that you do for your class project, it needs to be your own work, okay? If I do find that you just, that somebody just took an existing analysis and passed that off as their own, you can get in trouble for that. Okay, so that would be a 0 for the class project, maybe an F for the course. Okay, so and I'm not looking for like a thesis dissertation for these class projects or anything. I'm not looking for like a novel method that does better than or does as well as sort of the standard if other people have been studying that data set, just as an example, right? So I am just looking for people to apply kind of the stuff that you've learned in the class. So starting, we have been the last couple of weeks we've been talking about looking at the exploration, some cleaning, and kind of starting with this week, we're going to actually be getting into more of the heart of this course, where we're going to be looking at the details of some of the machine learning algorithms. But up to this point, we have looked a little bit at some of the stuff that you ought to spend your the start when you start thinking about your class project. So get the data set, do some exploration, try to understand it. So see what features you have, perform a correlation of your features, figure out what the labels are on the data set. So somebody asked the way that I will know, or the way that I will guess I lost my link here, but yeah, you should modify the README file and push it back by Friday. So that will be kind of how you tell me what data set that you're going to use, right? And like I said, it'd be first come first serve. But yeah, so somebody was asking that that's how you should do it. You should specify the name and the URL if it's publicly available, and give your description. Do that by Friday, and I'll try and monitor those. If I have more than one person asking for the same data set, I'll try and detect that as soon as I can, hopefully sometime this week, and point you and ask you to pick again. So, if you have, I welcome if you have, like if you're working on a thesis, or you have some other data set, or you're working on a project with other people, and it's data that you can share, or you have to be willing to have it be public, that you can put it in so I can look at it, and possibly even have it be in like a public repository, right? So you shouldn't use a data set that you have some restrictions on, or that you couldn't share publicly. But yeah, I also welcome, if it is like a private data set that you have collected, maybe shoot me an email or let me know. But that's more than fine. That's great if people have something like that in mind that they can work with. In that case, you may or may not have a URL. So if you don't have a URL for whatever data set you're thinking of, if it's not too big, like if we're talking megabytes, less than megabyte of data or something, just put it in the data subdirectory. So you should have a data subdirectory in your project. Just put your CSV or whatever the file is of your data, and also put that in there. So that's another way, instead of a public URL, that you can give me access to the data set that you're thinking of using. If it's not really publicly available and it's kind of big, the standard thing to do would be to put some scripts in here, or put some scripts in your project that automatically download the data, right? So if we're talking about tens of megabytes or bigger of data, that's not a good idea to put that into like a Git repository. Git repositories are really meant to hold code. They're not meant to be databases to hold large data sets. So in that case, if you have something that's multiple megabytes, you might want to ask me, talk about it. But the usual solution would be just to have some sort of a script that can just download it from some other source. And so the data resides in an actual database or some repository that's meant to hold large amounts of data, and you just make that part of your workflow, that there's a thing that will get the data into the data subdirectory before you run the script that you do your analysis and cleaning and that type of thing. Okay, but yeah, I wanted to get the word out on that. So let me know if people have other questions on that. But I am going to look for that. That'll be part of your grade for the final for your class project is having this done by the deadline this week. So having a data set claimed and communicate to me what you want to use, and me getting feedback to you that that's acceptable to use or not by this Friday deadline. All right. So what else? So let me know. I mean, there's some other kinds of things on here. I would like you to also give me a little bit of a description. Yeah, geez. I still have performance issues, it looks like, so we might be slowing down again already. You should also write it up a little bit, so not to the plan you might make. So you might on your ideas of what you're doing with the data, what the feed data set, but at least a couple sentences, a paragraph or so describing it and how it works. So yeah, I might be having some performance issues already from my live stream people, so I might stop the stream and restart it. That seems to be the only thing that I'm usually able to do in order to get it back up at this point. So let me stop this stream real quick.